Boeing, once a symbol of American industrial might and a beacon of innovation, has long been synonymous with the heights of U.S. engineering and global ambition. Now, however, the company finds itself at the center of a fierce and escalating U.S.-China rivalry, caught in the crossfire of a new era of geopolitical competition. For decades, Boeing's aircraft connected the world, carrying millions of passengers and goods across continents and helping to shrink the globe. But today, its future is increasingly tied to the volatile relationship between the world's two largest economies, where every diplomatic move can have massive business consequences. The company's deep reliance on the Chinese market, projected to be the world's largest for aviation, has become a vulnerability, exposing Boeing to risks beyond its control. As the U.S. imposed tariffs and sanctions, China retaliated, making Boeing a strategic target in a high-stakes economic chess match. While Airbus secured major Chinese orders, Boeing was sidelined, its fortunes battered not only by the trade war but also by the fallout from the 737 MAX crisis, which shook confidence in the brand. Boeing's struggles are a stark example of how political tensions can disrupt global supply chains, upend decades of partnership, and threaten the stability of entire industries. The question now looms large: is Boeing's predicament unique, or does it signal a broader, more systemic challenge for American industry as a whole? As geopolitical tensions reshape global commerce, U.S. companies' ability to compete in critical markets like China is under threat, raising concerns about long-term growth and competitiveness. The Boeing saga highlights the vulnerabilities of even the most established industrial leaders in an era of global competition, rapid change, and mounting uncertainty. The implications reach far beyond one company, touching on national economic security, the health of the American workforce, and the future of U.S. industrial dominance on the world stage. Boeing's fate is both a warning and a test, a measure of American industry's resilience and its ability to adapt in a rapidly shifting global landscape. The stakes have never been higher, and the world is watching to see what comes next. The U.S.-China trade war hit Boeing hard, turning it from a global exporter into collateral damage. As the U.S. levied tariffs on Chinese goods, China responded with its own, targeting American icons like Boeing. Boeing's business model depends on global exports, and China was its fastest-growing market. The trade dispute weaponized commerce, making it nearly impossible for Boeing to secure new orders from Chinese state-owned airlines. Airbus, meanwhile, capitalized on Boeing's exclusion, announcing landmark deals. The absence of Chinese orders left a gaping hole in Boeing's production and financial plans. The fallout rippled through Boeing's U.S. supply chain, threatening thousands of high-skilled jobs. Before the trade war, China accounted for a quarter of Boeing's deliveries. By 2020, that number had plummeted. The trade war cost Boeing billions and eroded its market share in a region critical for its future. Boeing's experience is a cautionary tale about the unintended consequences of protectionist policies. In 2021, China informally told its airlines to halt new Boeing deliveries, a decision that would have far-reaching consequences for the global aviation industry, a move that sent shockwaves through the industry, leaving both analysts and executives scrambling to assess the impact. This de facto freeze, never officially confirmed by Chinese authorities, was widely seen as a direct response to escalating U.S. tariffs and sanctions, deepening the rift between the two economic superpowers. Boeing's stock tumbled as investors realized the company was locked out of its most important growth market, with billions of dollars in future sales suddenly at risk. Dozens of completed Boeing jets, worth billions, sat undelivered, tying up capital, straining cash flow, and forcing the company to rethink its production schedules and financial forecasts. The unofficial nature of the halt gave Beijing plausible deniability while keeping Boeing and Washington guessing, creating an atmosphere of uncertainty that made negotiations even more difficult. This ambiguity showed how quickly politics can override commercial contracts and disrupt business plans, leaving companies vulnerable to sudden policy shifts beyond their control. The halt was more than a temporary disruption. It was a signal of China's intent to reduce reliance on American technology and to accelerate the development of its own domestic aerospace industry. For China, aircraft procurement became a powerful bargaining chip in its broader rivalry with the U.S., used to gain leverage in ongoing trade and technology negotiations. Boeing's crisis highlighted the risks for multinationals caught in geopolitical crossfire, where business interests can be upended overnight by international tensions. The message was clear: In today's interconnected world, business and politics are inseparable, and companies must be prepared to navigate the unpredictable intersection of global commerce and international relations. The halt in Chinese deliveries inflicted severe financial pain on Boeing. Analysts estimated a prolonged freeze could drain over $1 billion from Boeing's cash flow each year. The growing inventory of undelivered planes became a symbol of the crisis, high-tech assets sitting idle, tying up capital. China is projected to account for 20% of global aircraft demand over the next 2 decades. Being locked out threatens Boeing's long-term growth. The financial shockwaves extended through Boeing's vast U.S. supply chain, threatening jobs and local economies. Boeing's struggle is a national economic issue, not just a corporate one. The true cost of the trade war is measured in lost opportunities and weakened industrial strength. The Boeing-China standoff is a case study in modern geopolitics, where economic interdependence becomes a weapon. By targeting Boeing, China applied direct pressure on Washington, hoping to force a shift in U.S. policy. The conflict accelerated China's push for technological self-reliance, especially in aviation. China's state-backed COMAC is developing the C919 jet to challenge the Boeing-Airbus duopoly. Meanwhile, U.S. tariffs aim to counter China's trade practices and slow its technological rise. American multinationals like Boeing are caught between political objectives and commercial imperatives. In strategic sectors, business deals hinge on the political climate, not just product quality. For Boeing's success now depends as much on diplomacy as on engineering. The skies have become a new front in the U.S.-China rivalry. China's demand for new aircraft is staggering, making it the world's fastest-growing aviation market. While Airbus has filled some of the gap left by Boeing, it can't meet all of China's needs alone. China's homegrown COMAC C919 is a milestone, but production is limited and still relies on Western components. For now, the C919 can only supplement, not replace, Boeing and Airbus fleets. China's practical need for aircraft creates an incentive to eventually resume business with Boeing. Complete decoupling isn't realistic if China wants to meet its aviation growth targets. The mutual dependence between Boeing and China remains, despite political tensions. The question is when, if ever, commercial logic will outweigh geopolitics. After years on the sidelines, Boeing has resumed some deliveries to China, a small but significant step. Industry rumors suggest high-level talks for a massive new order, signaling both sides see the value in re-engagement. A large Chinese order would be a lifeline for Boeing, stabilizing production and revenue. More than a transaction, it would mark Boeing's formal return to a vital market. Yet the political rift remains unresolved. Tariffs and strategic competition persist. Beijing views renewed dependence on Boeing as a risk, and any deal will be used as leverage in U.S.-China negotiations. The U.S. government's stance on technology exports adds further complexity. Boeing's future in China hinges on diplomacy as much as business. The incentives for cooperation are strong, but deep-seated rivalries remain. Boeing's fate will be decided far beyond the boardroom. Boeing's recent struggles in China raise profound questions about the future of American industrial leadership. Once a symbol of U.S. innovation and global reach, Boeing now finds itself navigating a far more complex and competitive landscape, where its dominance is no longer assured. For decades, U.S. companies like Boeing set the standard for excellence and dominated global industries, shaping the world's economic order. But today, that supremacy is being challenged on multiple fronts, and the certainty of American leadership is fading. Trade disputes and rising protectionism have spurred other nations to invest heavily in their own champions, like China's COMAC and Europe's Airbus, steadily eroding America's once unquestioned market position. The ongoing Boeing saga serves as a cautionary tale about the risks of using trade as a geopolitical weapon. When trade becomes a tool for confrontation, the consequences can be unpredictable and far-reaching. Retaliatory policies intended to protect domestic industries can end up harming the very sectors they aim to shield, threatening jobs, disrupting supply chains, and undermining economic stability at home. The world is shifting from an era of U.S. dominance to a more multipolar order, where rising powers like China and a resurgent Europe are challenging the status quo and reshaping the rules of global competition. Competing in this new era requires more than just technological innovation. It demands skilled diplomacy, stable trade partnerships, and a willingness to adapt to new realities in international business. The success of American companies abroad now depends not only on their products, but also on the stability of international relations and the ability to build trust with global partners. Boeing's experience underscores the urgent need for a strategic approach, one that carefully balances national security concerns with the necessity of maintaining access to global markets and supply chains. The future of U.S. industrial power may depend on finding ways to coexist and compete with rising powers, rather than relying on confrontation alone. Collaboration, negotiation, and mutual respect will be key. The era of automatic American preeminence is over, and the path forward will require vision, adaptability, and a renewed commitment to global engagement. Boeing's turbulent relationship with China is a defining story of our time, where commerce, technology, and politics collide. What began as a partnership devolved into a standoff, costing Boeing billions and eroding its market share. China's push for self-reliance signals a fundamental shift in the global industrial order. For Boeing, the path back to prominence in China is uncertain and depends on a broader diplomatic thaw. The episode is a lesson. Industrial strength now depends on geopolitical stability. American dominance is being challenged by foreign competitors and the unintended consequences of its own policies. The case of Boeing warns of the risks when trade becomes a battlefield. The future of global industry will be shaped by how nations balance rivalry with the need for cooperation.